Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We have a very special episode today. We have an interview with Davien Watkins, the creator of Superpower Enterprises and Notes Notations, a comic book. So, first, how about you tell us about Superpower Enterprises and what that is?
Superhero Enterprises is a company, the publishing website that I started as I was basically deciding, exiting out of my school. I was graduating from Pepperdine. I was deciding whether, I wanted to go back into the business corporate world and working for, a major company or become an entrepreneur. And so, after some conversations, bouncing around some ideas with, family and some of my alumni, I kind of just decided, this might be interesting. Take a leap and try something new. And started the publishing. The idea based on just, wanted to become an entrepreneur. And comic books were actually starting to come back around, actually, and become a little bit more popular.
Right.
So that was kind of the start of it all.
Really cool. So you've created a character and I guess a world. So your character's name is Notes. Tell us a little bit about Notes.
So Notes is loosely based on my experiences working in the record industry. And I've been doing marketing and club promotions. So I've been, out in the field a lot. Street promotions was a big deal. And so, being on the road, attending these different concerts, there was just all types of adventures kind of happening. And that was really, where the story of Notes evolved. Once we I started doing later on, many years into it, to my career, I started to work on music production. And so I created this logo. The idea was just have this character with a microphone in one hand and music controller in the other hand, and he would just be running to save the music. So it just started out as a logo, the character.
Really?
But
That's
as I started to, kind of show it around a little bit to some friends and, my alum, and they said, well, why don't you come up with a story for this character? And so I kind of just think, why don't I just kind of apply some of my experiences to the story. So that's kind of where it all started.
Nice.
So,
Yeah. It was kind of fun. It was just like it was an adventure. It would be that he would be saving the music. Piracy was rampant.
Right.
That would be a purpose for Notes. That he would be battling the bootlegger.
Cool.
So that was probably around a time too when I guess music was very much like being like just kind of pirated and downloaded, and really I guess like was this character was created probably before like the whole like digital MP3s and all that, probably, right?
Yeah, well, the music industry was slowly starting to evolve into digital. It was like Napster was still brand new.
Yeah.
Everybody was still trying to figure out what was the music industry going to be.
Yeah.
It was CDs. That was the most popular format at the time. But then it evolved into the internet, and now streaming. But even today, stream ripping is like a big issue with piracy, and the music industry is always going to have, or in my opinion, it's always had issues with bootleggers, pirates, because if you look at it, kids are always going to try to get their hands on some music, the fresh new music, and
That's true.
it's always been an issue in the music industry.
So why then did you decide, you obviously have a background in the music industry, why did you decide that this really needed to be a comic, and that was the best way for you to tackle this issue, is through a comic and characters?
Just the demand. I mean, I had not really spent too much time in the comic book industry. I collected comics, but I was mainly into the artwork.
Okay.
I knew some of the top names. Todd McFarlane would stand out. Jim Lee. Those guys were big just because and they had popular names. But for me, I think the comics was just kind of something that people demanded. They wanted to see this character, this idea evolve into some story. So I kind of took a lot of the input and advice from just different people coming to me and saying, yeah, I like the idea. I think you should come up with a story, a character, a background. So that's where the comic strip actually came into play. We actually started to write a comic strip.
So your comic strip, your colors you went with are like a black, white, and blue. Is there any kind of meaning behind that, as opposed to going like tons of colors like in some comics, or is it just because it looked really cool?
It really looked cool. To be honest, it was a popular culture type of deal for me. I mean, it was attractive. And honestly, there was a guy who became a friend of mine. Eventually, I started to show up at these different gallery openings. This guy, his name is Rob Rieger, and he had a character named Emily the Strange.
Okay.
And we had the same sticker. Yeah, I mean, his character is kind of, it's a female character, but and the idea we had when I first launched the idea, he and I had the same sticker manufacturer, so we were like handing out a bunch of different, just stickers to kind of get the word out about the whole concept of the music production and everything. And so I don't know. I mean, it just was something. His color, the characters, her characters were all red, white, blue.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry, red, white, and black. So
I guess when you do that too,
I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. But I wanted my favorite color was blue.
So it's kind of just based off your favorite color. I think when you do that as well, if you only have one color, that kind of pops, right? And you can draw attention to certain things and add details, and people will be drawn to that because that is, the key color in there. So one thing I've noticed,
it just popped out. I mean,
yeah, it definitely pops for sure.
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed reading through your comic is there's a big focus, and this is actually through your Facebook page as well. There's a big focus on positivity, the good vibrations, as you say in your comic. Why did you decide that was something you wanted to highlight?
I mean, I'm just a positive guy. It's like it's part of my DNA. You know what I mean? It's natural to remain positive, and I think that draws more attention. Especially if you got a good message. It's really for the kids. For me,
right.
I've worked, I've made money, but it's all about a next generation for me. And I think a positive message is going to last longer than anything else.
So Notes as a character, then he is that where his power comes from? He's a very, because he definitely is a positive character. So is that where his superpower stems from then?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's inspired. The whole idea is inspired by the whole idea concept of being positive, doing the right thing, setting things right, righting the wrongdoings. That type of a message is timeless. So, just in music, you think about music being the soundtrack to our lives. You can listen to music. Some songs, years and years, and so it's like as long as it's positive, I think it's always going to be a good message for kids and children.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I guess if you look at comic books these days, it's kind of taken a turn in that these movies there's all sorts of movies and TV shows, and they're massive. They are financial successes, and like critically, they can be well received as well. Do you feel that your comic is to share things from those types of that style of storytelling, or are you kind of going in like a more unique, a different path?
Well, I mean, as I began the really, like I said, stem from the logo. I mean, we could, eventually we started to work with a bunch of different artists as a part of the team. We got various renditions from various types of artists, professionals, novice, and, just kind of to get some feedback. But then I started to really dig into what the comic book industry and the world was all about. And it was a lot of based on what's, good story. So that was really important for me to kind of figure out a path for creating a concrete story, a timeless message, and maintaining positivity within the music world. I mean, because there's so much negative, out there. It's like, why not battle that with something positive, a positive message.
Yeah, I think that's something that comics have always done well. The news always kind of focuses on the negatives, but that's kind of where people can escape to music, people can escape to comics, because that's something positive.
Right. And so, and with that, I mean, mythology was a big part of me telling the story. It's
really? Okay.
It took a lot of research for me, really, learning what was important to the superhero, and what his background and his backstories, and how we should actually present the message, for especially something that's related to music. So I did a lot of research in Greek mythology, and I wanted to kind of tie notes to an American version of a music superhero mythology.
Yeah. Interesting. I think, one thing, it's probably to do with your music background, is like a sense of realism. Do you think that because you've been there and you know what the music industry is like and you have a more hands-on experience, that with that you can bring like a more realistic type of story, a realistic world?
Yeah, I think it'll also be genuine. It'll also be authentic. Even though it's a fictional universe or a fictional world, I think a lot of my, I think just in general ideas from experiences in the past, sometimes what's happening in the headlines is really important to kind of address. And I think with regard to just like the mythology or the story, it just needs to be tied to something and have a real feel to it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Basically, like an idea to rally behind, basically.
Yeah, I mean, because nowadays kids and teens, they're all about keeping it 100. You know what I mean? And that it means you got to be authentic, true to your roots, true to where you come from.
That definitely comes from the music side of it. Yeah, I think that comes a lot from the music side of it, and I've seen a lot of interviews with famous musicians, artists, that's kind of what they're always trying to reach for, is authenticity and getting across themselves. And I think obviously music's one of the best ways to do that. It's such a very emotional experience if you really put the time into it.
Yeah, man, it's timeless, man. Those are the timeless messages.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good too, because in this day and age, everyone's got like headphones connected like to their ears. They're always listening to something. It's really rare to find yourself like in a quiet situation. You're always like, you're influenced by the music, and especially now with like comic books and everything. It's nice that you presented such a good clash between the two.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's like and obviously, in a fictional world, you can do a lot more. You can create superpowers and a world where it can tie into what's happening actually in a real world, and you can make it look appealing. You know, I think that's really what it is. The visuals is kind of just like, you know, as long as we kind of keep, I think, a certain look to it, it's always going to attract. It's going to attract, you know, viewers.
Right. So tying that back to comics, does Notes then, does he have superpowers in the traditional sense, or is he more about the symbolism of it?
No, he's actually gotten he's gotten superpowers, and you know, it's music related. You know, there are obviously some things I can't like just put out there yet, but if your viewers or you guys get, you know, a chance to send them over to the website, you can actually see what it looks like, you know, for Notes to use his superpowers. And it's pretty exciting. You know, the scene is pretty dramatic.
Yeah, that was...
It's him, you know, protecting the music, you know?
Yeah, that was very interesting, because, like, when it leads up to that point where he puts on his headphones and he channels into his power, this is something I was just curious about. Like, is there any kind of specific music he's listening to, or is it just is he just feeling out the music?
Favorite music? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that's just really a key point you guys pointed out, because if you ever notice, there's a lot of time that Notes is wearing his headphones. So it's just, you know, I mean, it's all genres of music he's into, but you know, in that particular scene, you can see he's actually in the store with all types of music. So, you know, you take your pick.
Yeah, I guess the reader can kind of input whatever music they are listening to, maybe at the time, or maybe there's someone listening to earlier in the day. I like that idea. That makes it. I think that makes it more personal too, right?
Right. You know, because he's, you know, in the music industry, and he's working with all types of talent. You know, you never know who you're going to see or hear in the music, and so it's like that way he's got like this tie to recording artists.
Cool. Do you have any other big questions there, Taylor?
Yeah. So many like the other characters that he encounters, like the direction you're taking Notes, are we going to see more like other kind of characters he encounters, like with their own kind of superpowers, or?
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. There's he's got his own arch nemesis. So in the story, you kind of see the initial phases or stages of, you know, this rivalry between his nemesis, who is Duplicate. So this character's name. And so Duplicate is it's like a supervillain bootlegger, and you know, they start out as friends, you know, and then eventually, as the story goes on, there's issues related to the music, and you know, they eventually part ways, and then this whole it kind of breaks, like I said, into a big rivalry between the two, and that's how you kind of see it play out in the story.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah. So then there's a love interest. There's a character. Her name is Melody, and you know, she's heavily involved. Another character who's you'll see in the notations, the comic strip. We kind of introduce him in the comic strip. So the comic strip is published in the Culver City Observer newspaper here in Culver City, California. So there's two different stories. Once your readers get a chance to go to our website, you'll see the original story, which is called The Origins of Notes.
Right, yep.
Which is kind of the beginning. Yeah, that's the beginning of Notes' story. You see him in Duplicate, the superpowers kind of exposed or seen, you know, for the first time there. And then a follow-up story where we got published in the newspaper is notations. And if you ever go to our Facebook page, there's a lot of different images from the notation comic strip featured there, and you guys can read more about that story.
So, question then. So on your website, there's just that origin. Is that one that you publish in the newspaper? Is that going to be coming to the website as well at some point?
I believe, yeah. I mean, we kind of wanted to have the print version.
Oh, okay, I see.
And so the notation story is in the print version, but we updated it, put the pages online, so it's digital. But the idea behind Superpower Enterprises and what we're doing now is that we wanted to have a lot of the content online and have it be digital.
Yeah.
Because obviously that's the way of the comic industry, for the future.
Yeah, definitely.
I believe it. But everybody likes print. They like to hold it sometimes.
Yeah, they like to read, but the thing with online, right, is then you can reach more people. We're over here in Canada, and we don't have a chance to read that newspaper version, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I posted, we make sure we have some pages, but we definitely publish in the paper first, and then
I see, yeah.
Later publish it on digital.
Cool. Well, I can't wait to read more. Where can our fans, where can our viewers check out Notes and your Superhero Enterprises?
You guys, write this down. It's superpowerenterprises.com. Make sure you click on the logo, the link, superpowerenterprises.com, and it'll take you into the story. There's a lot more content. See the comic book. You'll see some of the galleries that we have. There's also some animation there, so you can kind of get a visual of how it all started with the Note story.
Perfect.
Cool. I got one more question for myself. So when you're talking about the whole digging into the history, going into mythology for making your character notes and that sort of thing, I was curious. Do you have any favorite comic book characters yourself that you look towards, or just in general your favorite kind of superhero comic book?
Now I can say that coming up, I did have some favorites that stood out to me. I liked the Green Lantern when I was younger. Let me see. This is a super villain. I liked Magneto.
Oh yeah.
As I was growing up as a teenager, and then who else? I guess the most popular, right? It was Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I like those.
Right on.
Yeah. Right.
Good picks. All right, well, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity, and we're definitely excited to read more, and I'm sure our viewers will as well. So thanks again for your time, Davien, and have a good night, man.
Yes, thank you.
Man, thank you, man, for just getting in touch and then making this happen, and we definitely gonna keep in touch, because I think that's the whole purpose of the social media, and that we kind of keep this whole dialogue going, because it's every day we're gonna get more involved in telling the story. So I'm looking forward to staying connected to you guys.
Of course, man. We're all on the same team.
Yeah, we'll definitely get a follow up cast to your interview happening too.
Okay, man.
I appreciate that, guys.
All right, man. Take care.
Thank you, GeekVerse.
There you have it, our interview with Davien Watkins. We throw him a big thank you for coming on the show and doing the interview with us. It was a lot of fun, and I think you can tell through the way he answers these questions how passionate he is about this project. So once again, if you want to check it out, you can do so on superpowerenterprises.com or superheroenterprises.com. You can check out the character on Facebook at Notes Notation. And big thank you to the viewers for listening. I really appreciate it. If you want to support GeekVerse, you can go check out our Patreon, where we upload lots of content, special episodes, retrospectives, gauntlet matches. You can get these things early, by weeks, sometimes even months. And if you want to support us on YouTube, you can subscribe, drop a link, or leave a comment. Our website, geekversepodcast.com, has links to everything we do, but more specifically, on Twitter, we are GeekVerseCast, and everywhere else, that's Facebook, SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher Radio. We can be found under GeekVerse Podcast. Thanks for listening, and we will catch you next time.